Hey guys, how you doing? I have an over-the-board report for you from last night. Before we get on to that, a question from Jamie Rust says, how did you get into chess? Well, I think like a lot of people and a lot of people that I teach as well, I learned as a child. My mum taught me, because I was kind of a precocious, intelligent boy who found it hard to concentrate on things, and so she decided to teach me chess. I was probably about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I used to sit up in her bed in the evening. My dad would be downstairs watching the news and stuff like that, and we'd play chess on this old folding board. And so I learned the rules. I remember she used to criticise me for what she called timber shifting, so just exchanging anything that could be exchanged. That's one tip I remember from my mum. Don't always just exchange because it's there. Anyway, so I played a few games through school, a few games with like school chess club when I was maybe 9, 10. Then nothing really happened. A few games against one of my tutors in my teens, and then just never really played much. I did have a tiny little computer that I got when I was in France, or I took it to France with me when I was 18 years old, 17, called Novag Solo. I don't know if it still exists. It was just a tiny little, like a calculator thing. You type in your moves and it would tell you, and it had a little folding board with little magnetic discs on to do that. So I played that a while when I was away. Anyway, so that was more or less it until about 2017, when I was just sat there in my office thinking, I wonder if we can play chess online. I'm sure you can play chess online. Play chess online. Up comes chess.com. And the rest is history. Within a few weeks, I'd made probably my first video, and I just got completely sucked in again and addicted. So there you go, that's my history. Anyway, time for some more recent history. Sarah White, a player of the female persuasion. Good player, stronger than me. I think she's 1570s at the last count, playing for Woodseat's A team. And I've played, my last time I played Woodseat's D, I think, and lost. Anyway, so we are on board 3 out of 4. Sarah has the white pieces. And we just had a joke, by the way, earlier on. We were standing outside, a couple of players having a smoke before the game, and we had a joke about our Chess Bootcamp Live group session, where somebody confessed he just doesn't play against d4 these days. And I said, I've actually just pulled out a new opening against d4, and what do we get? Pawn to d4. So, what are we going to do? Are we going to get a London? Are we going to find ourselves in Black Knights Tango territory? Well, let us see. So we'll go through the game, and then I'll pull up the analysis and we'll see what I could have done better. So obviously I'm black, I play knight f6, this is flexible, keeps your options open. You've got ideas of playing a Nimzo Bogo Indian, you could play still a King's Indian style. You could even go Benoni, Benko Gambit, lots of things. And we have c4, so nothing for it. Now this, I don't know, might be my first Black Knights Tango game. So I really don't know what to do. I know that there's the very nice line if they play knight c3, which is the most common move, but I also know that knight f3 is solid and more successful for white, and we have knight f3, so my opponent knows what she's doing, it seems. So I now play e6, and now we're going into my kind of more traditional Indian territory. We have knight to c3 now, I bring out my bishop, and now we've kind of transposed to a Bogo Indian with these two knights out. So this is, I'm sure, a classic Bogo Indian line. It's been seen 10,000 times. We're set to 1800 plus on Lichess. And she breaks with bishop d2. I'm sure that queen c2 is also an idea here. So now I push d6. I just had a memory of d6 being a move. It stops the knight coming in here, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know. Just had a memory of it. She pushes e3, which I remember is probably... I remember it being like the only good move for white in some lines. I castle. We have bishop e2. And now I decide to fianchetto. Now I don't know if this is right, but I'm looking at this bishop, thinking I've moved my e-pawn once. We're kind of leaving, we're a bit of a standoff in the centre. We're not really engaging in the centre. I'm thinking of fianchetto. I need to be concerned about that this bishop has an escape. If, for example, she pushes a3, but I can, at this point I can always take the knight or take the bishop. So I decide to go for this. I want to complete development. I want to get my minor pieces out. We have a3 and I'd swap off. But that is the general rule. Almost always you pin the knight there. It doesn't matter if they break the pin. You wait for them to burn a move with pushing pawn to a3. You swap off. Okay, she takes back with the bishop. I fianchetto the bishop on b7 and white castles. So right now it's pretty normal, pretty average, standard stuff. Right now, there's no future for this knight on c6, so my plan is to reroute it round to here, which I kind of remember. Oh look, King Hunter had a game with this exact line, rated 1898 in 2020. Maybe it's not the King Hunter then, because he's rated 1898. Oh, I'm thinking King's Crusher, aren't I? Okay, forget that. All right, now, d5. Now, actually, on my notes, I put an exclam on this because there was something important about this move. But the eval actually has it as an inaccuracy. And what is it that's important? She had to play this move. And I cannot remember why. Last night I probably would have remembered, but now I can't. But anyway, computer has it as an inaccuracy. I swing my knight over, and now we're in a new position. This has never been seen. We have bishop d3, and I capture now on d5. I did realise, hang on, there's a point. There's a point at which I knew I could, yeah. Here, I could have played knight e4, guaranteeing that I could win the dark squared bishop. I think this is just worth mentioning, right? Because my knights, both of them being on light squares, right, would be controlling all four of those squares, and the bishop can't retreat that way. But I figured that that dark squared bishop wasn't white's strongest piece. No, I would be better off swinging the knight over. So anyway, so yeah, she does this, opening up the bishop. I bring my knight round to here. Yeah, it's something about the massive control I've got over d5. I think if I pushed and she takes, I'll probably take with the bishop, and then she's kind of bad. Push and push, I don't know, I can't remember what it is. There was a good reason. I thought it was like she had to play that move, but the computer disagrees. And we're not looking at different lines here. We'll do that next. Okay, bishop d3, looking down at my knight, slightly inaccurate. I capture on d5. She recaptures on d5. But here you can. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maybe it was even pushing that because I did have huge, especially with this knight on here, huge control. Anyway, so bishop here blocks the queen's defense of d5. So I win a pawn, basically. My knight's in the middle, and this is a very innocuous move. I mean, the computer has it just as an inaccuracy. But things can start to fall down from this point. The queen is the only defender of that bishop. This bishop is defended by the pawn. The queen is realistically the only defender of the knight on f3, because yes, it is technically also defended by the g-pawn, but you don't really want to capture with the g-pawn. So with all that in mind, I'm now attacking this bishop. If I capture the bishop, and again, we've got an open board, we've just had some resolution in the centre. The centre is now dissolved a bit. If I capture this bishop and b takes, then white's going to have two isolated pawns there on the queen side. So now we have queen to c2, defending everything. But pause if you like. What would you play here as black? Because we have the opportunity to gain a solid positional advantage with taking out the bishop, and it doesn't matter if queen takes or pawn takes, because the queen, having moved from d1, is no longer defending the knight. And we have this fianchetto bishop. Do you remember? We talked about it earlier. Bang, bang. Now, I'm a pawn up. I have a knight, white has a bishop, and we've just peeled open the king. Now this is kind of a critical point. This is the point where I definitely kind of just cut short my calc, you know. I thought, I don't know what happens if I play like queen g5 check. My knight wants to come in, my knight wants to come in, I might target this pawn. I could see that we would get queen here. This is forced. Knight here. Rook has to come to g1. Then my queen's under threat. And I kind of stopped being bothered from that point. So I decided to play it anyway. King h1 forced. Knight in here. Apparently inaccurate. And we're now in an equal position. Here I'm doing really well. Okay. So I move my queen over. This is very important, right? I cannot play that. Why? Queen takes queen, and the pawn is pinned, right? So we've got to tread quite carefully here. So I decided I could go here. I could also go to c5, but there's a problem with c5 is that I get checkmated. Okay, so you know, actually opening up this g file and then trying to go in for an attack without enough material is very dangerous. So I play queen e5 and we trade off. We have a trade of queens. She moves her rook up to defend the f pawn, which is a mistake. Well, she's now disconnected her rooks, yeah? I play my knight back, not the best. Rook c1 is just met with c5. I played that quickly. The king now starts to come round. And I'm looking at ideas. I'd love for this pawn to move forward so I could dive in and maybe get the bishop off with the fork. But here I'm thinking, okay, I've got pawns on dark squares. Most of my pawns are on dark squares apart from these. I'm a pawn up. My opponent has 3 pawn islands to defend. I am in a stronger position in the endgame. So I'm just thinking, knuckle down. If tactics present themselves, fine. If not, grind it out. I'm kind of up on the clock. A little bit up on the clock. Okay, we have rook to d1 now. Now, what you have to notice about this is the bishop is now pinned. Unless it comes back to one of these squares. One of these squares, it can recapture the rook. But it can't go anywhere else. So I now decide to double up my rooks. King moves over, I double up on the d file. King comes to e2, that's kind of required. And now I start to shuffle around. I'm not concerned about obviously at all. I mean, she can't take there because loses a rook outright. Bishop c2 is the only real move. And I'm starting to think about how can I get my knight out of there, because I'm thinking about like knight there, but what if she takes here? Can I do this, or can I put my knight here? And if she takes on h7, I push here, defend it, and then king. I don't know. She now decides to reconnect her rooks, which I think was a good idea. And now I push f6. And then I put that down as an inaccuracy on my own sheet. I was kind of proud that I hadn't moved this pawn, and I was just sitting tight with my king. I wanted to avoid checks and stuff like that, but this now does open up a line. I don't like. Do I have to defend this pawn? I don't know. Well, no, nothing's attacking it. So, rook h1 now. So then I thought to myself, why did my opponent make that move? Well, there's only one logical reason. Harry's coming. So I just moved my king back. h4. Now I swing my knight around, starting to swing my knight. I'm thinking even in terms of here, so I can't remember. Yeah, I had some ideas of where this knight could end up. Even here, and push this pawn, something like that. But there's no rush on this, and this is, well, kind of inaccurate, but I would call it worse than that. So what's the problem with rook to d2? Well, now, basically on the next turn, I think she has to bring her other rook back, because this rook is no longer, here it's on a light square, having moved to here it's now on a dark square. So this bishop can't then move back and be a second defender of the rook. At all, it's impossible. I play king to here. Now, why do I do that? Well, the reason is that I want to push c4. I want to push c4, knock this bishop away, and the rook just hangs. Then if it's under defended. Now, if my king was there, say I've just pushed something like this, she'd have had bishop here, check. I have to move or block. She trades her way out of trouble. It's all done, right? But she's now moving quite quickly. She knows she's in trouble. Sarah. She knows she's struggling. She's kind of clutching a bit here. And she pushes this, which is clearly a blunder. c4 played very quickly, and the bishop is lost. She doubles. Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. Rook doesn't take. And just simply this. And this, it's inaccuracy. She just loses a pawn here. And here, just resigns here. And it's -12 for black. So, I think looking particularly at the... Now, here's the ratings. I pasted it last night into the thing. 1800 for me, which is good. I mean, it's higher than my rating. That game I actually felt as good as the game last week when it gave me 2150. Good opening, good middle game. So I'll take it. But let's now go through and just see. Bookity. This is, it's nice now, you know, to see like 5 moves deep and see all book moves, especially in an opening I don't know well. So this is excellent. Best move is Queen c2. Okay. d6 is good. Yeah, trivial. e3, castles. Best move again, probably trading. But yeah, I'm sticking to this general rule of waiting for them to burn the tempo and lose a move. Now it comes. This is a great move. Fianchetto. This is all really solid now. It's, you know, within half a pawn of equality, and that is inaccurate. And so's that. It doesn't want e5, does it? No, it wanted me to throw the knight in. Okay, but it's still only half a pawn difference. So, all right. That's inaccurate. This is definitely best. And that actually recapturing here is an inaccuracy. There's something better. Take out the knight, I guess, and let's have a look. Queen takes, right? Pawn takes, bishop takes. Crikey. That's a lot of moves, and suddenly, well, we're a pawn up at the end of all that. Gosh, that was a lot of moves. Okay, so here I take. This is a mistake because she's now undefended that knight. Best move, just move the bishop out of the way. You know, thinking about responding to attacks. My knight is attacking the bishop. It's defended by a pawn. She extra defends it with the queen, but in the process undefends that one. Okay, now this is not the best. It's good, but it's not great. Best move. D5. Tricky one. Is it wanting to push pawns up? But again, you know, half a pawn in it. And this is a mistake. Yes, I'm threatening mate. But threatening mate, you know, when you're playing a strong intermediate player, you're not expecting to get checkmate on the next move. In fact, the way that my opponent prevents checkmate makes my opponent stronger, not me. So there's something to learn there. So instead of this move, queen here, attacking the pawn with that, and then how does she defend? Bishop back? Yeah. Then I guess I can come in with my knight to either of these two squares and attack from there. But I know this was the bit in the game I'm not so proud about. I mean, that is a genuine mistake, and I did give away the advantage. And that's a mistake. I was just starting to feel a little bit nervous about my knight. But better. Rook A8. Okay. So a missed win, really. And that's a mistake. Okay. Saying she should have taken out my knight. Leaving us in a position where black is just one pawn up. So quite a fair fight. And also, you know, remembering that a bishop in the endgame can sometimes be less useful than a knight. Sometimes. Okay. So that's not good. That's not good. Okay, I should have gone for the pinned piece immediately. And that would have forced the bishop back to one of these squares. And it says trade off anyway, Hunty. Still, I have the better pawn structure in the end. Okay, so c4, that would have put me minus 3.6. But we didn't have that, we had this. Inaccurate. Guess it's helping to prevent this idea, or even this idea. Okay, f6 inaccurate. Yeah, I kind of felt that. Best move again here. Okay. I think I considered that once or twice, but don't know. Also inaccurate. h4. King, and this has to be a blunder. Yeah, just straight up blunder. She's thinking only about attack and forgot not to lose. And from then on, it's kind of, yeah, formality. So yeah, I mean, really satisfying game there. The bit I'm not proud of is after peeling open the G file, going straight in with the queen and the knight, not knowing that there was an attack that would stick there. What I should have done is just continue to improve, build up, taken more advantage of that, and really not just invited that rook straight onto G1. But yeah, very satisfying win in the end. It was over relatively quickly, like less than an hour. And good game, you know, because I've seen Sarah play before. We've played at Woodseats before. She's beaten some of our good players as well. So yeah, very satisfying. And also to wheel out the old Black Knights. or Black Knights Tango over the board as well. Very satisfying. So hope you enjoyed that, picked up one or two things. Thank you for watching. See you soon.